Hey, G Sippers, I'm back for a little bit. I'm gonna touch bases on Candace, get that on out the way. Dang, I wonder did I switch it over? Hey, come on, come on. Come on. There was another jazz I wanted to listen to. It's over here. So I'm gonna get Candace out the way. Hey, Bryant. Come on in. Let me get this Ray J turned up in studio. Trying to panic.
At
Oh,
least for the first time in my life, I hope that he's right. That MAGA has spent their time effing around and they are finally going to find out. Not just Bongino, but Bondi, Patel, Blanche. Don't you dare forget about Donald Trump.
oh,
All of
hold
these
on.
people have not broken the law with regards to Jeff.
Before we go on, y'all come in hitting the like button. It's already late. It's almost 1 o'clock. Hold on. What was that I was listening to over there? Oh, that's Candace. That's John.
Tanker was targeted by.
Hold on. I think we've already heard that one. I want to hear what he's saying about a former FBI. Let's go.
Law with regards. Dan Bongino says he's going to jail, and do you know what? I agree with Dan Bongino, or at least for the first time in my life, I hope that he's right. That MAGA has spent their time effing around, and they are finally going to find out. Not just Bongino, but Bondi, Patel, Blanche. Dan Bongino says
Come in
he's
hitting the
going
like
to
button.
jail, and do you know what? I agree with Dan Bongino, or at least for the first time in my life, I hope that he's right. That MAGA has spent their time effing around and they are finally going to find out. Not just Bongino, but Bondi, Patel, Blanche. Don't you dare forget about Donald Trump. All of these people have not broken the law with regards to Jeffrey Epstein and the cover-up of the mass of files that still haven't come out. They are breaking the law continuously. This is an ongoing obstruction of justice, especially important as Marjorie Taylor Greene is kind of like airing out Donald Trump and everyone in this administration in a clip that has gone mega viral, where I think we need to start before we get to Bongino and just the breakdowns that he had with the realization that it's a wrap, man. It's done. I want to get to that, but we got to start with Marjorie Taylor Greene first.
I sent them to all these people. I got no response from Susie Wiles. None. And she's a mother and a grandmother and a woman. I got no response from James Blair because he only cares about making money on campaigns. I did hear from Kash Patel. He said on it, but I haven't heard from him since. I don't know what he's on. J.D. Vance was very nice to me, compassionate and kind, and reassured me that he would do everything we could to find out what's going on. And then I heard back from Donald Trump. And I've saved these text messages. I'd probably get put in jail if I released them publicly, but I saved them. Where Donald Trump proceeded to tell me that it was my fault and that I deserve it. If my son gets killed, I deserve it because I was a traitor to him. That is our President of the United States. That's the man that says MAGA is whatever he wants it to be.
I'm really glad that Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying this, especially coming off the heels of all the blame that Pam Bondi got. Of course, Pam Bondi, it deserves all the blame in the world, but I think after she was fired, there was this campaign by conservatives to say that the Epstein files not coming out was her fault and her fault alone. It all goes back to Donald Trump, right? And Donald Trump is the one who is threatening Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is threatening the entirety of the administration if they didn't fall in line. Also, Marjorie, I'm going to ask again, if you could please release those text messages. You need to and you should. But this all came from Trump. Everyone else was merely a conduit who thought that they were going in there to F around and have fun and make jokes. That's exactly what Dan Bongino was doing before he was the deputy director of the FBI. This video of Bongino sounds a lot different than him now, and I think is the important context of why. Yes, you should be going to jail.
Jeffrey Epstein may have some videotape of people central to the Democrat and maybe Republican Party doing some things, let's just say they shouldn't be doing. Joe, are you picking up what I'm putting down here?
Yeah, unsavory actions, yes.
Unsavory. Very well said, Joe. There were people on Jeffrey Epstein's island and on Jeffrey Epstein's plane who may not have known they were being recorded. And Jeffrey Epstein may have been recording this, or may not have even known about some of the recording.
We have to keep in mind that when Republicans say that the Epstein files would not have been a topic of discussion without them, it is because they talked about them in this sort of like conspiratorial, fun, goofy way. Like they never took it seriously. It was always gamified. They really gamified the Epstein files, right? It's like, oh, some people doing some naughty things on a plane. Oh, it might come out. Ooh. They had no interest in real justice, right? They wanted to make it a joke. They thought it was punchy, that it would get the podcast viewers for Dan Bongino. And then he joins the administration. He's told to fall in line. The tone's a little different. It's Epstein, didn't get killed in prison. It's Epstein had no connections to Trump. It's stop asking questions about Jeffrey Epstein. It's mass cover-up. Him and Patel, mass cover-up. That is what they were doing. That is what they were working on, and that's not as fun for Dan Bongino. And what I can promise isn't going to be as fun is what comes next, and he knows it. The account, the Tennessee Holler, posted this. But in case you missed it, Dan Bongino, ex-deputy FBI director, told Sean Hannity, I'm scared, man. I'm terrified they're going to do the right thing they're not going to do the right thing. When they're in charge, I'll probably be in federal prison. I'm sorry that I said they're going to do the right thing. Democrats should do the right thing, but he's saying that they won't do the right thing and weaponize the DOJ and put him in prison.
I will never be the same, and I'm being as serious as a stroke right now. Look, I'm scared, man. I know what I did, and I'm proud of my work, and I'm proud of what me and Cash accomplished in the past year. Beyond proud. I know what we did. I know what's coming. I know what I started. I know what I laid out, and I know it's all, you saw a lot of these cases coming out over the past few days even. But don't think for a second that I don't think every day, and this is what's really sad, and this is why I know, and I never thought this after reading that enough Friday night, that they're going to come for me. I'm terrified they're just not going to do the right thing when they're in charge. We did the right. I can tell you right now, like, there have been cases that were brought to us by field agents, by the way. The White House never called us in defense. That's all bullshit. Like, if you don't think, what do you think, they're stupid? They'd stay out of that stuff. They let us do the law enforcement stuff. I can't tell you with a straight face when these people get in charge, these hooligans that were in charge on the other side, that they're not going to throw us all in jail for felonious mopery on the open seas. Like, what's that? I don't know. They made it up. Like, they will. And I know I wouldn't do that.
So Dan Bongino is...
You know you wouldn't do that.
Reading that enough Friday night, that they're going to come for me. I'm terrified they're just not going to do the right thing when they're in charge. We did the right. I can tell you right now, like, there have been cases that were brought to us by field agents, by the way. The White House never called us in defense. That's all bullshit. Like, if you don't think, what do you think, they're stupid? They'd stay out of that stuff. They let us do the law enforcement stuff. I can't tell you with a straight face when these people get in charge, these hooligans that were in charge on the other side, that they're not going to throw us all in jail for felonious mopery on the open seas. Like, what's that? I don't know. They made it up. Like, they will. And I know I wouldn't do that.
So Dan Bongino is worried that he's going to jail, that he's going to be in the slammer. And I said that I misspoke, quoting him, saying that he's worried that Democrats will do the right thing in putting him in prison. Dan Bongino, of course, said that they won't do the right thing and that they'll weaponize the DOJ and put him in prison. Putting him in prison would be the right thing. Dan Bongino obstructed justice. He lied to Americans. He was part of a mass cover-up operation. You should go to jail. Like, that should be the punishment for the obstruction of justice. Both him and Kash Patel, who I have a message for a little bit later in this video, so do stick around on Kash. I also have another example of Republicans fucking around and finding out, so do stick around for that as well. But, like, these are your just desserts, man. You wanted to make jokes. You wanted to be in the administration. You wanted to have a lot of fun. You thought it was fun. They thought the Epstein files were going to be fun. One of the tweets that sticks with me most for one of these ridiculous conservative accounts was, ugh, when the Epstein files were coming out, when photos were coming out, it was, oh God, this is disgusting, he's with a child, this isn't fun anymore. Like, they always thought it was going to be fun. And so if anyone ever says, Republicans were talking about the Epstein files first, one, that's not true, but two, they were gamifying it. They thought it was a joke. Right? It was a conspiracy for political gain. That's what it was to Donald Trump. Against going to prison in 2024 was doing it for the political points and nothing else. And once he had to wake up to the fact that it was time to fix the music, he abandoned all his promises, the lies that he told about releasing the files. And so yes, Trump, for many other reasons, should be in prison. For reasons outlined in the Epstein file, should be in prison. So should Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. Now, speaking of the unqualified idiots at the FBI, of course, Kash Patel has gotten a little publicity recently for going on some excursions in Vegas and Nashville around the country that carry into the next morning. Some excursions in which he has a couple of sodas. And Kash, I have a recommendation for you. I actually have two. The first is, if you're going to be a drunk idiot, maybe you should resign. But also, for anyone who isn't the director of the FBI, if you want to have a couple of sodas, as we all should, I have a recommendation for you. Let me tell you about it. There is a surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after a couple of drinks with your friends. It's with pre-alcohol. ZBiotics pre-alcohol, and you'll feel fine. You'll feel a lot better. On Sunday nights, which is, I know, like a little crazy, going out on a Sunday. It wasn't going out. It was happening. And you know what? And that's fine, because you wouldn't believe I also should at 23 years old. And I was able to bank pre-alcohol, to be using ZBiotics, to be out, to be about.com/JackC to learn % money back guarantee. So if you're /Jaxie and use the code tell just resign. So yeah, Cash, you should resign. You should put down the sodas. You should, stop getting after it at I don't know, like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, on a work day. Maybe you just chill, or maybe you can just resign. Like if you want to have fun and, parade around with your girlfriend who's, if we're being honest here, likely a Mossad agent, you can do that. Just don't do it on our time. Because you're fucking around means there's going to be some finding out. Well, let's just be honest about that. You're going to fuck around, and you're going to find out. But it's not just going to be happening at the FBI. It is also happening with Republicans seeking to gerrymander across the country. And it is so funny to watch these people get what they deserve that I want to check out a clip of Brian Tyler Cohen delivering just that. You're going to love this.
But that really raises the question here, that because gerrymandering is happening everywhere, shouldn't Republicans support a nationwide ban on gerrymandering? And yet, when that was put forward in 2020...
Gerrymandered states in America are not from Republicans, as we just showed on the maps. I want to ask you this question.
Take a look at, wait, hold on, let me respond to what you just said. First of all, take a look at Dan Crenshaw's previous district and then tell me that gerrymandering doesn't exist in these Republican states. But second of all, every single Republican voted against the 2021 Freedom to Vote
Did she just roll her eyes on the cool?
in favor of it. That would have banned
Hold on, boo-boo.
nationwide.
If Republicans didn't
She
want
tried
this
to
fight,
roll
they
her
should have
eyes
started
on
it.
the cool, like, how dare
Take a
you?
look at, wait, hold on. Let me respond to what you just said. First of all, take a look at Dan Crenshaw's previous district, and then tell me that gerrymandering doesn't exist in these Republican states. But second of all, every single Republican voted against gerrymandering, and yet that was put forward in 2020. Yes,
I love this.
but that really raises the question here that because gerrymandering is happening everywhere, shouldn't Republicans support a nationwide ban on gerrymandering? And yet, when that was put forward in 2020.
Y'all started it, boo-boo. Do you not remember? Trump started it for Texas, him and the wheelchair guy. Did you forget? Boo-boo-boo? Did you forget who started it? What's her name? Y'all hit the like buttons, because she forgot.
Everywhere. Shouldn't Republicans support a nationwide ban on gerrymandering? And yet, when that was put forward in 2020, yes.
The most gerrymandered states in America are not from Republicans, as we just showed on the maps. I want to ask you this question.
Take a look at, wait, hold on. Let me respond to what you just said. First of all, take a look at Dan Crenshaw's previous district, and then tell me that gerrymandering doesn't exist in these Republican states. But second of all, every single Republican voted against the 2021 Freedom to Vote Act. Every single Democrat voted in favor of it. That would have banned partisan gerrymandering nationwide.
If Republicans didn't want this fight, they shouldn't have started it. Also, there is a massive difference between Texas just redrawing its maps, Florida just redrawing its maps, Louisiana literally shutting down elections to redraw maps, and California and Virginia passing ballot measures through a democratic process to fight back against
how
the
they
Trump
forget.
administration. Those are very different things, and we are going to make sure to call those out every single day on the show.
Sick worst health report. Yeah, I don't like his. Okay, y'all, let's get into. I just saw that and I was like, yeah, what? Y'all need for y'all to get the likes up. Double tap the face of your screen. What are we doing? Double tap. Just like that. I hit those 3 dots right up there. We're not going to be here long.
I have been in this business 50 years, and I want to tell you something that I do not say lightly. What happened in the Strait of Hormuz in the last hour is the most dangerous single event of this entire conflict. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Navy fired 2 missiles at a United States Navy vessel near Jask in the Strait of Hormuz today, this afternoon, while I am speaking to you. The vessel had ignored warnings from the Revolutionary Guard to halt. Iran state media citing the IRGC confirmed the attack. Al Jazeera confirmed the attack. The UK Maritime Trade Operations Center confirmed a vessel was struck by unknown projectiles in the strait. All crew were reported safe. Now, Let me tell you what happened in the hours before those missiles were fired, because the sequence matters enormously. And the sequence tells a story that every American needs to understand right now. This morning, President Trump announced what he called Project Freedom, a naval mission using guided missile destroyers, more than 100 aircraft, 15,000 service members, designed to guide stranded ships out of the Strait of Hormuz, to force open the waterway that Iran has been restricting since the war began. Iran's senior official Ibrahim Azizi warned immediately that Project Freedom was a violation of the ceasefire. Iran said the mission would not be tolerated, that any American vessel entering their declared exclusion zone without permission would be treated as a hostile act. The American vessel entered the zone. Iran fired 2 missiles. Now I am going to be very deliberate about what I say next, because this is a moment that requires precision, not panic, not partisan framing, precision. This is an act of war, full stop. When a nation fires missiles at a naval vessel of another nation, that is an act of war under international law, under the laws of armed conflict, under every framework that governs the conduct of states toward each other. 2 missiles at an American ship fired by Iranian forces in a waterway that America was attempting to open for international commerce. Now, I want to be fair about the context, because fairness requires me to say it plainly. Iran warned. Iran said Project Freedom violated the ceasefire. Iran said American ships entering its declared zone would be treated as hostile. The ship entered the zone. Iran followed through on its warning. I am not saying Iran was right. I am saying that both sides made decisions today, in the last 12 hours, that led to this outcome. And understanding those decisions is essential to understanding what happens next. Stay with me, because this is developing in real time. And I want to give you the full context as clearly and honestly as I know how. Let me go back to this
He
morning,
sound like he have
to what Project
COPD.
Freedom
Oh,
actually
y'all hear
was,
his breathing?
and why Iran called it a ceasefire violation. The ceasefire that took effect on April 7th was an agreement. Iran followed through on its warning.
Y'all hear that? Oh, man. Okay, let me get back.
Iran warned. Iran said Project Freedom violated the ceasefire. Iran said American ships entering its declared zone would be treated as hostile. The ship entered the zone. Iran followed through on its warning. I am not saying Iran was right. I am saying that both sides made decisions today, in the last 12 hours, that led to this outcome. And understanding those decisions is essential to understanding what happens next. Stay with me, because this is developing in real time. And I want to give you the full context as clearly and honestly as I know how. Let me go back to this morning, to what Project Freedom actually was, and why Iran called it a ceasefire violation. The ceasefire that took effect on April 7th was an agreement to stop active combat operations. The American blockade of Iranian ports continued. The mines in the strait continued. The 50,000 troops continued, but the missiles and the bombs stopped. Iran's interpretation of that ceasefire is that America agreed to stop military operations in the strait, including naval operations designed to force shipping through Iranian-controlled waters. America's interpretation is that the ceasefire stopped the bombs, not the blockade, not the freedom of navigation, not the right to escort commercial vessels through international waters. Project Freedom sits directly on that fault line. America says it is freedom of navigation. Iran says it is military aggression. And today, in the Strait, 2 missiles resolved that interpretive dispute with the most unambiguous possible answer. Now, I want to tell you about the negotiating track because it is happening simultaneously. And the contradiction between what is happening diplomatically and what just happened militarily is one of the most striking things about this conflict. Trump posted on Truth Social this morning that his representatives are having very positive discussions with Iran. Very positive discussions. His words this morning. And simultaneously, Iran fired 2 missiles at an American warship. Now, these 2 things are not necessarily contradictory. In war, the military track and the diplomatic track often operate in parallel, sometimes in ways that seem contradictory from the outside but make strategic sense. Iran may be negotiating seriously through Pakistan's mediators while simultaneously making clear through military action that it will not accept Project Freedom as a fait accompli. That is a coherent strategy. Negotiate while fighting. Extract maximum concessions by demonstrating you are willing to escalate. Force the other side to choose between continuing a military confrontation and accepting diplomatic terms. I have seen that strategy work. I have seen it fail catastrophically. Whether it works or fails depends on one thing above all others: whether the other side has the discipline to respond proportionally, to absorb the military signal without escalating in ways that collapse the diplomatic track entirely. That is the decision that is being made in Washington right now. As I speak to you, in the Situation Room, or in the Oval Office, or wherever the national security principles are gathered, do we respond militarily to the missile attack? How do we respond? What do we hit? How large? How targeted? Do we treat this as a ceasefire violation that ends the ceasefire? Do we treat it as a limited action that we absorb while the diplomatic track continues? Do we escalate Project Freedom? Or do we pause it pending assessment? These are the decisions being made right now by people I do not know, in rooms I cannot see, with information I do not have. What I can tell you is this: the wrong decision in the next 12 hours can end any hope of a negotiated settlement for months, possibly longer. And the right decision requires exactly the kind of disciplined, calibrated, careful thinking that has been in short supply throughout this conflict. Now, let me talk about the human context, because I think it matters enormously right now. Gas is at $4.45 a gallon today, up from $4.10 1 week ago, up 49% since the war began on February 28th. The trajectory is clear. Every week of continued conflict pushes gas higher. Every military action in the Strait pushes oil markets higher. Every headline about missiles and warships pushes traders toward higher prices. If the missile attack today ends the ceasefire and restarts active combat operations, oil analysts are already warning that Brent crude could spike past $130 a barrel. At $130 a barrel, gas approaches $5 nationally, possibly higher in some markets. $5 a gallon. Well, for the American families who are already struggling at $4.45, who are already putting small amounts in the tank at a time hoping prices come down, who are already cutting vacations and cutting back on driving and making the painful calculations that every dollar increase in gas price requires. The man named Jeff Olson, who told CNN this weekend, us getting involved in a stupid war, I think that's had obviously a direct effect on the cost of everything here. We're only putting small amounts of gas in at a time in the hopes that the prices are going to come down again soon. Jeff Olson, and wherever he lives in America, putting small amounts of gas in at a time, hoping prices come down. He is watching the news tonight. He is seeing the missiles. He is calculating what $5 gas does to his budget. He is the person whose life is most directly affected by the decision being made right now in Washington. Now, let me step back and give you the strategic picture, because I think it is important to see this clearly. Project Freedom was an ambitious and risky move. I want to be honest about both parts of that assessment. Ambitious because the intent was right. The strait should be open to international commerce. Stranded ships and trapped seafarers deserve relief. The global economy needs those oil flows to resume. The gas prices that are devastating American families need the underlying supply disruption to be resolved. Those are legitimate goals. The instinct to address them directly was not wrong. Risky, because announcing a naval mission with 15,000 service members and 100 aircraft in a contested waterway where a ceasefire is nominally in effect, without fully resolving the interpretive disagreement about what the ceasefire covers, is exactly the kind of action that produces the outcome we saw today. Iran told you what it would do. It said Project Freedom violated the ceasefire. It warned ships would be treated as hostile. And then it did exactly what it said it would do. Now, I want to be very clear about something, because I think clarity matters enormously right now. The crew of that American vessel are my concern above everything else right now. Those are American service members doing their job, following orders in harm's way. And every American should be thinking about them tonight, regardless of politics, regardless of views on the war, regardless of who you voted for. American service members were attacked today. That is the first thing. That is the most important thing. That is the thing that cuts through all of the strategy and all of the politics and all of the gas prices and all of the approval ratings. Human beings in uniform serving their country were fired upon. And the American people deserve leaders who respond to that with both the toughness to defend our personnel and the wisdom not to turn a missile attack into a catastrophe that kills thousands more. Those two things are not in conflict. They are both required. Now, let me talk about what I think needs to happen in the next 24 hours. Because I believe the American people deserve an honest assessment, not just of what happened, but of what should happen next. First, the facts need to be established clearly. What vessel was hit, what the damage is, what the condition of the crew is, whether there are casualties. The American public deserves a factual accounting of what happened before any military or political response is announced. Second, the diplomatic back channel needs to be kept open. Witkoff said this morning, we are in conversation with Iran. Those conversations need to continue, even today, even after the missiles. Because if the ceasefire collapses today and active combat resumes, the path back to negotiations becomes dramatically longer and more difficult and more expensive in lives and money and gas prices. Third, the proportionality of any military response needs to be calibrated with extraordinary care. A proportional, targeted, limited response that makes clear that attacking American vessels has consequences without destroying the diplomatic framework that the very positive discussions we're building on is the hardest thing to achieve in this moment, but it is the right thing. And fourth, Congress needs to be engaged now, tonight. Not a letter declaring the war terminated, not a claim that the War Powers Act is unconstitutional. Actual engagement with the co-equal branch, the people's representatives, telling them what happened, explaining what the response will be, asking for their support. Because in the most dangerous moment of this conflict, the president needs the credibility that comes from having Congress behind him, from having the American people's representatives invested in the outcome, from demonstrating that this republic's most consequential decisions are being made with the full participation of the constitutional framework the founders designed. That credibility is not optional. It is the foundation of everything that happens next. Now, I want to close with something that I think every American needs to hear right now, in this moment. With missiles in the Strait and decisions being made in Washington, I have been in the Situation Room. I have received reports of American forces under fire. I know what it feels like when the communication comes in and you have to make decisions fast with incomplete information under enormous pressure with enormous consequences. It is the hardest thing a president does. Nothing else comes close. And I say that with full respect for the difficulty of the position, regardless of who holds it. What that moment requires above all else is this: clarity about what your objective is. Not the objective you started the war with, not the objective you described at a Florida rally. We objective right now, today, in this moment, when 2 missiles have been fired at an American ship, and the decision of the next 12 hours will shape the next year. Is the objective ending this war on terms that address the nuclear question and open the strait and bring the troops home and bring the gas prices down? Or is the objective something else? If it is the first, then the response to today's attack must be calibrated to preserve the diplomatic track while making clear the attack was unacceptable. That is hard, but it is the path to the objective. If it is the second, if the objective has changed, if today's attack becomes the justification for something larger, then the American people deserve to be told that clearly, honestly, without social media posts and rally rhetoric, in a primetime address from the Oval Office, with the full weight and gravity that the moment requires. 2 missiles, American warship, Strait of Hormuz, gas at $4.45. The next 12 hours matter more than any 12 hours since February 28th. Pay attention every hour tonight. Thank you for listening. God bless our service members in the Strait tonight. And God bless the United States of America.
I'm waiting for y'all to hit the like button. Hey, Alice. Our friend. Double tap. Y'all came in and didn't hit the like button. Did I watch this?
Every now and then, a country arrives at one of those moments when the headlines stop feeling like isolated events and start feeling like warning signs. Not one warning sign, a pattern, a set of signals flashing all at once. And when that happens, the most dangerous thing a nation can do is shrug, turn the page, and tell itself this is all just politics as usual, because it isn't. What we're seeing now is not just another argument between parties. It's not just another cycle of cable news outrage. It is something deeper than that. It is a test of whether the institutions that hold a democracy together can still do their job under pressure. It is a test of whether a government at war can remain honest with its people. And it is a test of whether power is still being exercised with discipline, restraint, and accountability, or whether it is being used to silence, conceal, and intimidate. Let me tell you something. Democracies rarely fail all at once. They weaken in pieces. First, the public stops trusting what it hears. Then the professionals inside government stop speaking plainly. Then the people in charge begin treating oversight as sabotage, criticism as betrayal, and truth as a threat. And that is where it gets serious. Now, to understand why this matters, we've got to start with a principle that is older than any one president, any one administration, any one political party. In this country, the military answers to civilian leadership. That is not optional. That is foundational. It protects democracy from rule by force. and it ensures that decisions about war and peace remain in the hands of leaders chosen by the people. But here's the reality. Civilian control is not the same thing as political control over the truth. It is not the same thing as demanding loyalty instead of judgment. It is not the same thing as removing experienced officials simply because they bring you inconvenient facts. A healthy system allows elected leaders to make the final call. A dangerous system punishes anyone who gives honest advice before that call is made. And when you start to blur that line, the damage doesn't stop at the top. Because when senior military leaders are pushed aside without clear explanation, when respected officials disappear from the room at the precise moment a country most needs candor, everybody below them gets the message. Every officer, every analyst.
Did we hear this already, y'all? Have we heard this already? Have y'all heard this? Did we play this yesterday? Hello? Y'all so trifling.
Every career public servant. They learn that survival depends not on being right, but on being agreeable.
Okay.
Not on telling the truth, but on telling the boss what the boss wants to hear. Now, history teaches us something important here. Nations do not usually lose their footing because they lack weapons. They lose their footing because they lose clarity. They mistake obedience for strength. They confuse image management with strategy. They surround themselves with applause and then wonder why they never saw the crisis coming. And when a government is engaged in conflict abroad, that kind of blindness can be deadly. Because war has a way of exposing every weakness in leadership. It tests judgment. It tests discipline. It tests whether the people making life and death decisions are willing to hear bad news early or whether they would rather suppress it until the costs become impossible to ignore. This is why transparency matters so much. Not recklessness, not the public release of every operational detail. No serious person is arguing for that. But there is a world of difference between protecting sensitive information and hiding the broad reality of what is being done in the name of the American people. If battlefield damage is being obscured, if public evidence is being delayed or restricted, if private companies are being leaned on to narrow what citizens can see, then we have to ask a basic question. Who exactly is being protected by that secrecy? Because America's adversaries usually know more than we think. They monitor the same region. They watch the same movements. They assess the same strikes. Our allies are watching too. In many cases, the only people left in the dark are the citizens who are paying for the operation, sending their sons and daughters into danger and being told to trust that everything is under control. Now, that may sound harsh, but let me be clear. Leadership is not about pretending nothing went wrong. Leadership is not standing at a podium and acting offended that questions are being asked. Leadership is not attacking oversight whenever accountability becomes uncomfortable. Leadership is the willingness to say, here is the situation, here is what we know, here is what we got right, here is what we got wrong, and here is how we're going to correct it. That kind of honesty does not weaken a democracy. It strengthens it. Because the minute leaders start believing that the public cannot handle the truth, they stop serving the public and start managing it. And once government becomes more concerned with controlling perception than confronting reality, mistakes multiply, strategies harden, warnings get ignored, and the bill always comes due. Sometimes it comes due on the battlefield. Sometimes it comes due in the economy. Sometimes it comes due in the alliances that took generations to build. And that brings me to the larger picture, because none of this is happening in a vacuum. At the same time questions are being raised about accountability at home, there are signs of strain abroad. Critical partners are uncertain. Security commitments are being discussed in ways that feel abrupt and improvised. Troop postures that once reflected long-term strategy now seem vulnerable to short-term political impulses. And adversaries, as they always do, are watching carefully. Let me tell you something about alliances. They are not held together by slogans. They are not held together by photo ops. They are held together by trust, by the belief that America is steady, that America is serious, and that America thinks beyond the next news cycle. When that trust starts to weaken, the consequences are not immediate in the way people expect. There is no siren, no single dramatic collapse. Instead, friends begin hedging. Partners grow quieter. Coordination becomes thinner. Intelligence sharing becomes more cautious. Independent defense planning accelerates. And little by little, the architecture that kept the peace starts to loosen at the joints. That may sound abstract, but it's not. It has real consequences for families back home. If instability spreads through a region that carries major shipping routes and energy flows, Americans feel it. They feel it at the gas station. They feel it at the grocery store. They feel it when the cost of transport rises, when markets react, when inflation that was already stubborn becomes harder to tame. A crisis overseas has a way of arriving at the kitchen table faster than most politicians are willing to admit. So when leaders act as though strategic decisions can be made without consequence, when they speak as though removing experienced voices, straining alliances, and managing public information are all just signs of toughness, they are ignoring the simplest lesson of statecraft. Reality does not care about political branding. You cannot fire reality. You cannot intimidate reality. You cannot spin reality into submission. And this is where it gets serious in a deeper way, because the biggest danger in moments like this is not only what leaders do, it is what citizens grow accustomed to. If people begin to accept that oversight is disloyal, that secrecy is normal, that institutional purge is efficient, that allied distrust is strength, then standards begin to fall. The unacceptable becomes familiar, and the familiar becomes permanent. That is how democracies drift. Not because people stop loving freedom, but because they get tired. Tired of outrage, tired of complexity, tired of sorting truth from theater. And in that exhaustion, they start lowering the bar for what leadership should look like. But here's the reality. Leadership in a republic is supposed to be restrained. It is supposed to be answerable. It is supposed to welcome scrutiny, especially in wartime, especially in crisis, especially when the stakes involve lives, treasure, and national credibility. The strongest leaders I've ever seen were not the ones who demanded silence in the room. They were the ones who could sit still long enough to hear something unpleasant. They understood that the job is not to be protected from bad news. The job is to absorb it, learn from it, and act before it becomes catastrophe. That takes confidence. That takes maturity. And yes, that takes humility. Because humility in leadership is not weakness. It is the recognition that no administration, no matter how convinced of its own instincts, can afford to govern as though dissent is danger. The minute a government begins selecting for loyalty over competence, the decision-making process starts to decay from the inside. And once that happens, the public may not see the damage immediately, but the damage is there all the same. So what should we be watching for now? We should be watching whether institutions are allowed to function without fear. We should be watching whether military and civilian professionals can speak honestly without risking their careers. We should be watching whether Congress treats oversight as a constitutional duty or merely as a talking point. We should be watching whether allies are reassured by American conduct or quietly unsettled by it. And above all, we should be watching whether the people are being trusted with the truth. Because if those things continue to erode together, then this is no longer just a controversy. It is a governing philosophy. A philosophy that says power should be protected from scrutiny, insulated from criticism, and freed from the inconvenience of institutional limits. Now, I want to be fair. Not every hard decision is evidence of abuse. Not every personnel change is sinister. Not every classified matter can be discussed in public. Serious governance involves hard calls, and anyone who has ever held responsibility knows that. But fairness cuts both ways. If leaders want the benefit of the doubt, they have to earn it through seriousness, transparency where possible, and respect for the public's intelligence. They cannot ask citizens to trust them blindly while systematically weakening the very mechanisms that make trust possible. That is not how democratic legitimacy works. And yet, for all of this concern, I don't believe the story ends in cynicism. I don't. I never have. Because this country has been tested before. We have seen periods of fear, overreach, deception, and institutional strain. We have seen moments when the machinery of democracy groaned under pressure, and each time, the outcome depended on whether enough people decided that self-government was worth the effort. Not easy government, not perfect government, self-government. That means citizens paying attention to patterns, not just personalities. It means asking harder questions than the ones offered for us on television. It means understanding that patriotism is not obedience to power. Patriotism is loyalty to the principles that make power legitimate in the first place. Let me tell you something. A free people do not prove their love of country by looking away when warning lights start flashing. They prove it by looking more closely, by staying calm, by staying informed, by refusing to surrender either to panic or to apathy. That is the task now, to stay awake, to stay serious, to remember that institutions do not defend themselves, laws do not enforce themselves, alliances do not sustain themselves, truth does not preserve itself. All of these things depend, in the end, on human beings who are willing to protect them, and that includes us. So yes, there is reason for concern tonight. Real concern about secrecy, concern about concentration of power, concern about whether strategic decisions are being made with enough honesty, enough discipline, and enough respect for the institutions that keep this republic stable. But there is also reason for hope, because the American experiment has never depended on perfect leaders. It has depended on an engaged people, on citizens who, when the moment demanded it, remembered who they were. People who understood that democracy is not a gift handed down by the powerful. It is a responsibility carried by the public. So the question before us is not whether these warning signs are real. They are. The question is whether we will take them seriously before more damage is done.
Right.
Whether we will insist on competence over flattery, truth over image, accountability over impulse, and country over ego. If we can do that, if we can recover that discipline, that seriousness, that sense
Country
of common
over ego.
responsibility, then this moment, however troubling, does not have to become a turning point in the wrong direction. It can become a reminder
Hey,
that the
Belinda.
strength of a democracy is measured not by how loudly its leaders speak, but by whether its people still have the courage to demand honesty from them. And that, in the end, is where my hope still lives. Not in the noise, not in the theater, but in the quiet conviction that the American people, when it matters most, can still tell the difference between strength and spectacle. And if we can still tell that difference, then there is still time to get this right.
Okay. Let's go to Candace before I fall asleep. Daily wire collapse. Can I get the likes up? Double tap the face of the phone. I hit those three dots at the top right corner. Come on. Oh, I'm finna go to sleep. Get the likes up.
All right, you guys.
Like so, please.
Happy Monday indeed. I do not know how we didn't guess it. We should have guessed it. All right, you guys, happy Monday indeed. I do not know how we didn't guess it. We should have guessed it. The attacks against me last week, personal attacks on my family, people were doxing our home address. Thank you, those of you who reached out to us and allowed us to respond to that. All across social media, accusing me of hiding money from the Macrons, accusing me of fleeing the country, accusing my husband of hiding a hit and run, having hit a man named Tracy Robinson. We all thought, what the heck is going on? Like, literally, what is going on? The president posts a photo of me sick. I wasn't even speaking about him. I was over in Italy. All of this meant to humiliate me. And then a lawsuit arrives from Brian Harpole. But then we learn it's been sent from the same lawyer who had already been suing me nonstop in arbitration on Ben Shapiro's behalf for 2 years for every minor infraction. And what do you know? Thank you, Internet, for putting this piece together. Because I always thought there was something wrong with this lawyer. He seemed too emotionally invested. Usually lawyers are just kind of like, it's our job. And they're friendly to one another. That guy, Matt Sarlson, was something else. And thank you to the Internet, like I said, for noting at the bottom of that lawsuit from Brian Harpole, it lists a Jacob William Roth, a partner of the firm, who also happens to be Ben Shapiro's brother-in-law. It's all starting to make sense. We should have known, ladies and gentlemen, that the Daily Wire was on the brink of collapse. And that Benny boy wants an all-out assault on my life over it because he blames me.
Wow.
Welcome back to Candace.
They blame Candace.
It was oddly
Thumbs up.
demonic, unlike anything we've ever seen. The President of the United States posting photos of my ugly mug. Why? Why? I think I look kind of cute, actually, in that photo. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would have smiled, ladies and gentlemen, if I had known that one day the Prezi was going to post it. I would have smiled a little bit, maybe smirched in the photo like this, under that bandana. Publicly, everyone knows that also Laura Loomer has been stalking me. But I've been telling you guys, my real stalker in life is Ben Shapiro, okay? Since the day that I was fired from the Daily Wire, he has not stopped trying to bankrupt my family. It is almost comical at this point. We've learned to just laugh at it. It never goes away. We were laughing at the fact that he's just kind of allowed to pretend to be this normal public figure, but he's low-key a deranged stalker, and like he just sort of hides behind it, tries to dignify the stalking through legal filings. It's like, oh no, it's fine that we sent an intern to follow her at her event after we followed her. That was after we fired her. That was our right. It's fine if we keep just using legal abuse as a strategy. And I mean, for every little infraction, like they were monitoring my likes. Back when you could see likes on X, I was facing serious lawsuits over, you liked this tweet and it was a bit disparaging to us. Stalker, just full-blown stalker vibes. It all made sense, though. It all made sense when phone calls started coming in, emails started coming in regarding the Daily Wire layoffs, which began, I am told, on Thursday, actually, continued through Friday. There's some indication they may actually be continuing through today. And it was an absolute bloodbath. Do not allow them to spin it. Okay, I'm talking entire departments, big people at the firm, lawyers at the firm, the chief operating officer, the executive vice president, virtually the entire marketing department, the production team has now been reduced to a mere skeleton crew. No one was safe. Not even Ben's team was safe, marked safe from it. Even a director on his team was fired. It was brutal. I have counted approximately 54 people who lost their jobs from top to bottom. And that's just in this wave, because this has been going on, as we all know, for a while. The writing has been on the wall for a while. It has been very strange, the worst kept secret in media, as they keep writing, having people publish these articles that just defy reality. We were having private conversations like, how long can they keep up this charade and keep pretending that this is not happening when everyone can see the numbers? We can see how the public is responding. It's very strange to just sort of live in a delusion. We knew that they had brought in private equity some time ago in the last 2 years. I used to work in private equity in these particular types of situations, so I knew what the implications were of bringing in private equity, especially if it's a distressed debt situation. The usual term, as it was at the company that I worked at many moons ago, is 2 years. They'll inject cash into your company. They'll float you for about 2 years as you attempt to turn things around. You fire some people, you restructure a little bit, but you're kind of walking the plank, right? Maybe you fix it, but if you don't, they're gonna sell that company, and they're gonna own a huge chunk of that company that they sell. Now, I can't assert that that is definitively what the deal terms were for the Daily Wire, but I can say that we're just about now over 2 years, just over 2 years removed from my firing, and the Daily Wire has obviously not turned the company around. In fact, I would say they've just kind of cranked up the crazy, almost like they were trying to catalyze their own demise. And so, yes, it was announced on Friday that the mass layoffs took place, for which they offered this excuse to Barrick Media. I think Barrick Media was among the first to report the story. It reads, quote, "Today, the Daily Wire made a difficult decision to..."
Dillon's always gives you more ways to save, like low prices in every aisle. Plus, you can clip and save more with digital coupons in...
Restructure the organization, which included layoffs to a number of teams. We are deeply grateful to those impacted. Their contributions were instrumental in building the Daily Wire into what it is today. The cuts were largely concentrated at our Nashville production office, as the company has invested in new formats, locations, and production models. Our footprint there has evolved. Over the last year, we have added production staff in DC, the Northeast, and Florida. This step allows us to focus our resources on an ambitious slate of new entertainment projects that are set to release this year. Additionally, we will continue to invest our editorial team in investigative journalism, where we have already added numerous new reporters across the country and established a DC bureau with a seat in the White House briefing room. That's a lot of words to really say nothing, okay? It's not good. It's happening there. Everyone feels it. People that are left certainly feel it, okay? First, they shuttered Bent Key Kids, which was obviously massive layoffs that were done. Then they quietly got rid of their sports department. That was the Crane and Company show that they were running. Now they're firing over 50 people in a span of 24 hours, and they're claiming it's just restructuring. People in DC also got fired, so it's not because they're suddenly pivoting and building in DC. So as they attempt to spin this into something else, the broader question is, what actually happened to the company? How could it happen so quickly, more importantly? Because make no mistake, this is like the equivalent of Enron, right? It's a virtual overnight collapse. In 2023, they were arguably one of the most promising companies, conservative media companies, certainly in the game. They were at the top of their game. Everyone was clamoring to work with them, to do projects with them. And now we fast forward to 2026, and generally speaking, again, I'm speaking generally, everyone hates the Daily Wire, right? We just hate the Daily Wire. How is that possible? Well, there are multiple assessments that are floating around right now. Of course, many people directly associated their demise with the never-ceasing war against me, which began with my unnecessarily glorious public firing, supplemented by a staggering claim that Christ is King is anti-Semitic. People were going, God will not be mocked. It's a strong start to say Christ is King is problematic, and we've got the money to make that fetch, Gretchen. So yeah, that's the chatter. Did it have to do with me? Take a listen.
Candace Owens cooked you, Ben. She made you look like, well, the little bitch that you are. She straight up publicly humiliated you, and you allowed her to let you destroy the entire media organization that you built.
And a lot of people, which is also interesting, are stating that Candace Owens
is, Candace Owens was successful in leaving the Daily Wire, getting fired from the Daily Wire, and now she's a massive independent commentator, public figure, and her success only happened after the Daily Wire. She's probably feeling really good right now. I'm going to be honest. If I was Candace Owens, I'd be feeling pretty damn good right now.
Django Unchained. Dude, she's like Django. She's like Django, killing everybody in the big house and then blowing it up. Kind of what it was, because she was there. She worked there. She was
built. And a lot of people, which is also interesting, are stating that Candace Owens was successful in leaving the Daily Wire, getting fired from the Daily Wire, and now she's a massive independent commentator, public figure, and her success only happened after the Daily Wire. She's probably feeling really good right now. I'm going to be honest. If I was Candace Owens, I'd be feeling pretty damn good right now.
Django Unchained. Dude, she's like Django. She's like Django, killing everybody in the big house and then blowing it up. Kind of what it was, because she was there. She worked there. She was probably one of the top shows. And then she just exploded the whole house on her way out. Kind of epic. Can't lie. I'm going to glaze Candace Owens a little bit. I don't agree with everything that she's up to, but, if she brings down the Daily Wire, then she's a patriot.
So people are crediting me, but do I actually deserve that credit? Have I been focusing my attention on the Daily Wire throughout this show? Well, taking a look at a more, I guess you could say, the business side of affairs, this user, Akash Gupta, wrote this on X, and I thought it was worth reading. He wrote, "The Daily Wire is the case study of why personality-driven media companies cannot compound. A peak in late 2023, Shapiro's YouTube alone pulled 170 million monthly views. Daily Wire Plus subscriptions, a Nashville studio operation, Bentkey Kids streaming, an e-commerce arm with razors and chocolates and cigars. The company was running a $1 billion conservative Disney bet. Then they made the studio bet bigger. Pendragon Cycle, an Arthurian fantasy series of the kind that has bankrupted larger production houses. Bentkey trying to compete with Disney for kids' attention. Daily Wire Plus chasing Netflix. Running a newsroom, a film studio, a children's streaming platform, and a private label consumer goods business simultaneously requires either limitless capital or extraordinary discipline. Some of it worked. Matt Walsh's Am I Racist was the top-grossing documentary of 2024, but most of it didn't. In March of 2024, they parted ways with Candace Owens. She walked into the open market and built a show that competes with theirs. Today, she has 5.5 million YouTube subscribers and added 10.9 million followers across platforms since January of 2025, generating roughly 805 million views in that window. Daily Wire converted its biggest distribution asset into its largest competitor. Early 2025, co-founder Jeremy Boring stepped down as co-CEO and launched a solo podcast outside of the company that he co-founded. Bentkey was shuttered the same year, entire team cut. Then the audience math hit Shapiro himself, 170 million monthly YouTube views in late 2023 to roughly 22 million in early 2026, an 85% collapse in 18 months. Another 60,000 subscribers gone in the last 90 days alone. LayoffHedge.com estimates cumulative workforce reduction above 60% over the past year. Tucker Carlson left Fox in 2023. He kept his audience. He runs his shop with a fraction of the headcount. Megyn Kelly's network drew 138 million YouTube views in February alone. The personalities figured out that they don't need the platform. The platform discovered the opposite. Daily Wire built a $1 billion valuation on names that can walk, take their audience with them, and run a competing show from a laptop the next morning. 170 million views down to 22 million. The company kept the overhead, but the audience left with the people. I thought that was a very fair assessment. And looking at the commentary regarding me, plus reading his business look at it, I actually think it's a combination of both of those assessments, right? Because what Akash is missing, he brings up Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. Yes, they are indeed more successful than they were when they were on cable news. They are successful in their own right, but their exits did not destroy Fox News. That's crucial. Their exits, despite the fact that they are doing better, did not destroy Fox News. This means that Daily Wire is unique. They are unique. They are set apart from those examples. I left PragerU. I left Turning Point USA. Neither one of those companies were destroyed by my exit. In fact, we were all friends when I left. I went on to work with Turning Point all the way through until this year, actually, contractually. And same with PragerU. We would still do things together. I was still close with Marissa, very close with Marissa. So what makes those companies, what is it that makes those companies different, right? I think what makes them different is that they didn't stalk their departed talent. They just let them go, and they never mentioned them again, right? Tucker Carlson did not then face 2 years of arbitration and fights and gag orders with Fox News, being chased for every penny. They didn't try to stop his next move. They weren't navigating and having hit pieces written about them. They truly wanted to just turn the page, meaning they're a real business. They are a real business. They want to keep it corporate. Goodbye. Okay, public didn't like how they dealt with it. I didn't like how they dealt with it. But actually, in retrospect, it was clean, right? Now, compare that to the Daily Wire. Think about the positively erratic and, dare I say, deranged decisions that the company made just over the last few months, last 6 months, right? They brought back my social channels to mock me. Okay, this is unbelievable. It's beyond psychopathic to do something like this 2 years after you fire someone. They also attempted, in case you forgot, they attempted to create an entire show dedicated to making fun of this show. Remember? In the no-no, where you had that spastic girl that was like standing on the couch, like a Nickelodeon girl, like making fun of me, and it was weird and it was cringe, and also beyond the realm of being stalked by a former employer. It's strange. You don't keep someone's socials and go, ha ha, I own your name and likeness and I can do this. You have to pause and really consider how unusual that was. Now, that was a mere months removed from the end of their last legal action against me too. So there's never been a stop in my life of the Daily Wire chasing me. If this was an ex-boyfriend, everyone would say that I was in need of a restraining order. Like I said, they wear the mask of this is all court. We just really want to go after her because of that like. She liked that. It was disparaging. So you cannot discount the fact that Ben Shapiro, who is considered, and this is sad for the other people on the platform, he is considered the face of the company. And he developed tunnel vision. He bet the company on destroying me. I didn't want to fight with them. I wanted to peace out. I wish Andrew Klavan never made the Crisis King video. You would have never heard from me. We can never speak about each other ever again. But they were plotting. They wanted to be destructive. I mean, just take a listen to him and the many battles that he is fighting. Nobody knows why. The people that he should be uniting with and being friends with, that he's taking stabs at. Take a listen to him over just these last few months.
So, here's the thing. Theo Vaughn is a low IQ conspiracist. He has himself routinely propped up Candace Owens, has lent credence to her insanity. Theo Vaughn is basically just a Bernie Sanders leftist who does not like the censorious impulses of the left and engages in all the same conspiracy theories and, of course, is good friends with Candace Owens and all of the rest of it. And yes, Erica Kirk absolutely should sue the living hell out of Candace Owens for this sort of stuff.
Right,
well, Michael, I'll just ask you straight up. Is Candace Owens doing something evil by attacking Erica Kirk?
I think that it's wrong to attack Erica Kirk.
Well, say the sentence with her name in it.
I'm not going to dance like a puppet for the podcast force.
I think that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil. It is evil what she is doing right now. Okay, and I say that again.
But what? Because like I don't opine on whether it's evil or not, but my position is it's really none of my business. And
why is it? But I have a question. Why is it none of your business? I mean, you comment on these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes. Of course, the issue here is not just that Megyn Kelly has some questionable principles and has been programming directly into the Groyper right. It is that she remains a coward. Remember, this is still the woman who says she is friends with Candace Owens.
So no, Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA, or to mirror her bold lines of questioning because you love Candace personally. The same holds true of Megyn Kelly.
I mean, it's just not normal. Right? It's just not normal to go after Theo Vaughn. Everybody loves Theo Vaughn. He's just a person that everybody loves, but he just goes, Theo Vaughn is friends with Candace Owens, and I therefore hate him and I want to destroy him, and every person has to want to destroy her and join this team you can't have those sorts of people in the boardroom. Your company will eventually destroy itself. Now, if the employees found out on Friday that the company could no longer afford to sustain them, then we can reasonably assume that Ben, who's a part owner of the company, knew months ahead. And so what you're looking at there is that with his dying corporate breath, what he wanted was to come after me. Me. That is not to say that people turned away from him because people don't like political beef, right? It's not like there's tons of political beef. I have political beef with people. People actually have proven they have a high appetite for back and forth drama, left versus right, well, women versus men, whatever it is, whatever the prevailing narrative is of the day. Nobody minded when Trump would attack Marco Rubio or Ron DeSantis. I've had personal and legal spats with people like Kim Klacik as just one example. People do expect figureheads to clash. What they don't expect, and what people have proven that they have no appetite for, is perfidy. Right? Treachery, deceit, betrayal against your own. Ben trying to destroy me, trying to destroy Megyn Kelly, that means trying to destroy a former colleague and someone like Megyn Kelly, who he said was his friend. That is perfidious. There's no other way to say that. Ben seeking to publicly humiliate Michael Knowles, say her name. There is something about that that makes the public naturally recoil, right? Because it demonstrates that you have no honor, you have no dignity, you have no loyalty. They can forgive you demanding the COVID shots, right? Get the vaccine dopes. They can forgive you once leading the Never Trump movement, but they cannot forgive you treating people that are supposed to be close to you in that manner, right? To use a biblical analogy, Peter thrice denied Jesus. But Peter was not Judas. We are naturally, as human beings, averse to the spirit of Judas, and that is what Ben Shapiro demonstrates, right? That he will break bread with people as he plots against them. That is a moral offense to which we cannot rally behind. People do not like his nature. You can spend years trying to destroy someone behind the scenes, like Ben did to Charlie Kirk, and then, boop, just flip on the dime as soon as he dies, slither into his studio and throw $1 million trying to purchase his legacy. It is spiritually repulsive. That is what the public cannot bear about the Daily Wire. You would think, by the way, that Ben's attacks against me would now be all done. But on his Friday show, when most were expecting him to deliver maybe an impassioned message, one laced with humility regarding the layoffs, perhaps thanking the many people who moved their entire families to Nashville to support his company and now find themselves without a job, you'd think that, oh, I mean, hey, I wanted to let you guys know this personally from me. Like, this is what's going on. We thank people so much. No, of course, he does not have the courage to do that. Right? Calls Megyn Kelly a coward. But what did Ben do instead of addressing his employees? Instead, he made his show about me, signaling that he wants his tribe to now begin targeting my money, of course, and he wants the public to know that they shouldn't listen to my show, because when they listen to my show, they make money. Take a listen.
Honestly, if you are an audience member of Candace who foments this sort of evil, because she makes money off of you. The way she makes money is by spewing trash into the public sphere, and then she makes money off it through advertising. You know, that's how she does it. So if she's monetizing your gullibility, then you are complicit in this nonsense.
He makes me so nervous, like the way his head shakes when he's like that at the end there. Like he's in a psychosis. There's no other way to say it. Does he really believe that my audience is so stupid that they don't know that, like, when they're hitting my YouTube page, that we monetize the page and we have advertisements? That's his breaking story there. And does he recognize at all the irony of him making that claim as he does the very same thing? So what is he? Of course, he does not have the courage to do that. Right? Calls Megyn Kelly a coward. But what did Ben do instead of addressing his employees? Instead, he made his show about me, signaling that he wants his tribe to now begin targeting my money, of course, and he wants the public to know that they shouldn't listen to my show, because when they listen to my show, they make money. Take a listen.
Honestly, if you are an audience member of Candace who foments this sort of evil, because she makes money off of you. The way she makes money is by spewing trash into the public sphere, and then she makes money off it through advertising. You know, that's how she does it. So if she's monetizing your gullibility, then you are complicit in this nonsense.
He makes me so nervous, like the way his head shakes when he's like that at the end there. Like he's in a psychosis. There's no other way to say it. Does he really believe that my audience is so stupid that they don't know that, like, when they're hitting my YouTube page, that we monetize the page and we have advertisements? That's his breaking story there. And does he recognize at all the irony of him making that claim as he does the very same thing? So what is he upset about? He's upset that our show is doing well despite his very best efforts behind the scenes to prevent that from ever happening. And right on cue, his supporters then began demanding a boycott of our show advertisers over the weekend. And it began trending. So take a look at this, where they listed all of our sponsors. It says, list of companies that sponsor Candace Owens' podcast. Do all these companies condone the behavior of Candace berating and demonizing a widow, Erica Kirk? If you haven't already, I suggest boycotting these companies until they withdraw their sponsorships. I'm also calling on all of these companies to withdraw their sponsorships of Candace Owens' podcast. I don't believe her views align with their company values. Do you condone Candace's views or her anti-Jewish rhetoric? And they started posting all of our sponsors. Some of these are actually not our sponsors. They probably just were like, oh man, we ended up on here. Okay. He wants my money. Similarly, they began targeting this morning our merch store. Actually, something that began over the weekend. Here is a tweet that followed this. Candace Owens wears shirts with her name and her face on them. She drinks from a cup with her name and face on it. She works on a computer with stickers of her face on it. What would you call this? We'd call it branding and marketing, actually. And Laura Loomer, of course, followed this up with calls about what we were doing with our merch, because this is the new call, get rid of Candace's merch. If you have that tweet, she asked people to support her, aka donate to her legal fund by buying her ugly merch. She doesn't need money. Why doesn't she sell one of her luxury SUVs? Why are people who are less fortunate than you are for money when you're wearing designer, driving $1 million worth of cars? It's so beyond untrue. It's crazy. Living in 2 homes, also untrue. That's crazy. Why doesn't she support herself? I do support myself, thank you. And so this is just what
Larry
you see.
Loomer's trash.
This is their focus. It's been forever since
Larry Loomer is
Candace
trash.
Owens. And so when you look at the full picture
Dumpty is
of
trash.
Ben and what collapsed his company, it wasn't me. I wasn't at war with Ben. I wasn't trying to destroy Ben. I didn't tell people to boycott Ben or boycott the Daily Wire. To the contrary, I feel really bad for the employees who lost their jobs in that way. And behind the scenes, I'm trying to help some of them get new jobs because they moved their lives and their families here. But regarding Ben, that is just the spirit of a man who wants money as revenge for his own actions. No one told Ben to launch a war on Christ is King. In fact, I strongly advised against it. All right? God will not be mocked. Money seems to be everything to Ben. That explains why, after working behind the scenes to encourage, and in front of the scenes, as you saw, to encourage Erica Kirk to sue me, he likely landed upon Brian Harpole, right? Because I do not find this to be a coincidence. On the last page of the lawsuit against me, his brother-in-law is listed, Jacob William Roth. Who knew? I did not know he was a part of this firm. I think he has been married to Ben's sister since 2018. Are we to believe that this is just a happy coincidence? Ben is so destructive. Like right here, mark my words right here. He is so destructive and he has such tunnel vision that this path of hatred that he has now been embarked on for 3 years is going to now destroy the lives of those who are agreeing to partake in this game with him, right? He is going to infect them with this similarly unnecessary obsession with me, and they will inevitably find that their own lives are destroyed. It will lead to their own similar exposure and their demise, because that's how cancer works, okay? The world is now awake. The Daily Wire, with Ben at the helm, represents the side of people that are trying to sort of put us back to sleep. And it is a losing battle. It's not going to work. So my best advice to them, which they of course will not follow, they could always count on Daily Wire to do the wrong thing. My best advice would be for them to shutter and sell the tech stack, okay? You cannot rehabilitate hatred. You cannot rehabilitate the way you are viewed on the world stage. You cannot rehabilitate Ben's anger and his tunnel vision. People see the Daily Wire and they see Ben and they don't want to support that. They don't want to support someone who tells them that they're evil and stupid and wrong for listening and supporting Theo Von while he unflinchingly hosts Bibi Netanyahu on his platform while he cheers on a genocide. That's his main issue. His main issue is Israel. That's what he turns on everybody over. Our support for Israel. Well, support for Israel is down all across the country. And does this mean that every Zionist has their empire collapsing? No, absolutely not. Fox News is still a thing, right? Fox News is still pulling in viewers. But it's the manner in which he goes about it. It's too disturbing. People don't want to look on. They don't want to root it on. If I'm the private equity, I'm selling the computers. I'm selling everything that they have there that can be sold. And I'm just saying the company's got to go. That's my personal opinion. I'm allowed to it. We will be right back after a brief break. All right, you guys, imagine waking up one day and seeing gold at $6,000 an ounce. It might sound surprising, but it's exactly what...
Can I get y'all to hit the like button? I know y'all, can see me posting to hit the like button. Double tap the face of your screen. Hit those 3 dots or I'm finna shut down. Yeah, I know how to make y'all leave if y'all not gonna hit the like button, baby. You got to get up out of here.
All right, look, guys, the Little Pony could only go on for so long, right? I mean, it was just watching something and it was painful. I mean, the buying of the views, everybody in YouTube world knew Ben is buying views. And that's just what's happening. I know how he's doing it because I know the person who used to do it at the Daily Wire and through advertising. And you wonder how I was actually asking the question, like, to my husband, like, how is that not like an advertising Ponzi scheme of sorts? Like, how do you buy views and then sell to advertisers on the basis of your views? And my husband said, well, then maybe they could potentially be putting something in the contract that allows them to sort of get around that tricky clause, like, oh, we may sometimes advertise or whatever. But this was just watching. They were just on the plank for a very long time, sort of walking the plank. Anyway, I did find something was brewing last week. We could all feel it, like I said. And Baron Coleman received a very interesting comment on his show, because we're going to talk a little bit more about this lawyer, Matt Sarlson, who tweeted out this lawsuit with Brian Harpole. We're very familiar, like I told you, with Matt Sarlson, just objectively a lawyer that takes things, like, was making this so personal, and we couldn't figure out why it was so personal. And now I think we do have an understanding. But take a listen to Baron Coleman read this comment on his show.
I'm from CLT. A friend of my husband got a call from Larry L. trying to pay him to go to CLT Airport to take pictures of Candace in the airport. At the same time, the news of the lawsuit dropped. Really? Why is she in the Charlotte airport tonight?
So I think Baron didn't understand what that commenter was saying. So what the commenter was saying is of remarkable interest. What they're saying is that they knew someone who Larry Loomer was trying to send to the Charlotte airport when I received news of the lawsuit. The reason why Baron is confused is because I didn't publicize that I had received an email from Matt Sarlson while I was in the Charlotte airport. That's a very precise thing. It signals that Laura Loomer knew before we had announced to the public more than a week, because they had first sent this, like, I don't know, demand thing at first and said we are following this lawsuit in 4 days. But I was standing in the Charlotte airport when I received that email. So how is it possible, and again, I'll say allegedly, how is it possible that Laura Loomer was trying to get somebody go take photos of me reading that email that I received that nobody could have known I was going to receive outside of Matt Sarlson's firm? That signals that there's some coordination between Matt Sarlson, Ben Shapiro's lawyer, and Laura Loomer. And then, by golly, you guys, when he tweeted out this lawsuit, could you imagine my surprise? We went onto his wall and we saw that before he acknowledged the lawsuit, he had been heavily retweeting Laura Loomer and her attacks against my family. Laura Loomer asserting that my immigrant husband, my husband is not an immigrant, thank you, he was an immigrant, was involved in this DUI. He's retweeting Laura Loomer. That's very interesting. There seems to be a connection here. And not only that, but Jacob William Roth, Ben Shapiro's brother-in-law, similarly, was retweeting the lawsuit. So this is very interesting. By golly, some people thought, are they coordinating? Are they using Laura Loomer? Because how do these people know each other? Again, why is this Matt Sarlson so invested in my life? Well, Laura Loomer, when she thought I was going to have a bad week last week, tweeted this. Damn, Candace O is having a bad week, almost like she got ambushed. Couldn't have happened to a more wretched bitch. Oh, I think there could be some coordination going on. And we'll be able to tell you more about that because we're finding out a lot of information right now. And I got to get in my early predictions here because I've rarely been wrong on this stuff. Like I insinuated, cancerous goals like this inevitably infect everyone. And this absurd lawsuit from Brian Harpole, the internet recognizing, looking up now and paying attention that there are these bizarre connections between everyone, this is going to shine a negative light of attention on Harmeet Dillon. Because this is her law firm, right? Dillon Law Group is Harmeet Dillon's law firm. She currently works for the Department of Justice. She left her firm, obviously, to go fill this position, and I think transferred the stake in the company to her brother while she's currently serving in the Department of Justice. She's serving as the Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division. She's also the front runner to replace Pam Bondi for Attorney General of the United States. That's a big position. People are wondering, Trump signaling lawsuits, Erica, sue. What's going on here? Why does this all feel a little bit incestuous, right? Pam Bondi, just to be clear, had become to the American people virtually synonymous with corruption for Israel, right? Regarding the Epstein files, we've hated her since she gaslit us about the files. She lied to us about the files, the binder of the files. What is your priority, Pam Bondi? Who are you protecting? Why does it feel like it's the nation state of Israel? And while I can, just to be clear, Harmeet Dillon's firm has never been accused or charged with any corruption related to Israel, but her law firm is heavily involved in a lot of legal issues on behalf of Israel, right? For example, there was a recent company that made waves, which we hadn't covered on this show, which registered rightfully under FARA, big deal, Israel never wants to do that, rest in peace JFK, called Show Faith by Works. Okay, so Show Faith by Works LLC. If you are not familiar with that company, I'm going to tell you what they are all about. Just 8 days after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, Show Faith by Works began their contracting registration under FARA. The principle of the company, to be clear, is Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Their stated purpose is to target Christians in the United States with anti-Palestinian and pro-Israel messaging. How? With geofencing. Okay, meaning you go to a public event, you go to church, and they are actually going to put an invisible fence around your phone, which then allows them to hand over your information, to allow people to freely target your phone with searching and messaging. Here's a involved in a lot of legal issues on behalf of Israel, right? For example, there was a recent company that made waves, which we hadn't covered on this show, which registered rightfully under FARA, big deal, Israel never wants to do that, rest in peace JFK, called Show Faith by Works. Okay, so Show Faith by Works LLC. If you are not familiar with that company, I'm going to tell you what they are all about. Just 8 days after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, Show Faith by Works began their contracting registration under FARA. The principle of the company, to be clear, is Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Their stated purpose is to target Christians in the United States with anti-Palestinian and pro-Israel messaging. How? With geofencing. Okay, meaning you go to a public event, you go to church, and they are actually going to put an invisible fence around your phone, which then allows them to hand over your information, to allow people to freely target your phone with searching and messaging. Here's a Times of Israel article about that. This was published in October, and it says Israel to spend up to $4.1 million on a Christian PR campaign in the West. It says the foreign ministry has hired another American firm to run influence operations in the United States, with plans to spend as much as $4.1 million on a marketing campaign aimed at Christians across the western part of the country.
Attack on Christians.
According to newly filed federal disclosures. The documents filed last week under the FARA Act reveal that Show Faith by Works LLC will execute what it bills as
Bibi
the quote, largest Christian church.
Made mention of that when he was planning that campaign to turn Christians into Zionists by way of, mega churches. Yeah, he presented that. Well, I saw it on IG maybe 3-4 months ago. Yeah. Likes up, please. Sad work. Yep, the devil is busy. These are devil, Zionists, they worship evil.
Geofencing campaign in U.S. history.
I'm going to shut it down.
A newly formed company with a San Diego address, Show Faith by Works, is run by Chad Schnitger, a prominent Christian conservative activist in California. The initiative is designed to reach churchgoers with digital ads that are explicitly, quote, pro-Israel and anti-Palestinian, end quote, while dispatching a mobile, quote, October 7th experience to church parking lots. That sounds terrifying. We don't want a mobile October 7th experience. Are you going to kill people? What are you saying? What are you saying? A kid, I hope. I don't want it. Anyways, they're going to do this. It continues. There's going to be an exhibit to Church Park. We don't need to exhibit this. We're actually good. Thank you. Also to Christian colleges, it says. Beware Christian college. The October 7th experience is coming to a parking lot near you. Okay, sorry, you can scroll back up. I'm going to keep reading that. The initiative is designed to reach. The campaign adds a new prong, to Israel's U.S. communication blitz, complementing a $1.5 million per a month contract for AI-driven social media activity. with former Trump campaign strategist Brad Parscale and a contract with a firm called Bridge Partners to create an influencer network called the Esler Project. The PR blitz was anticipated after the foreign ministry was allocated $150 million in this year's budget for public relations efforts. You gotta love it, right? We have to give our tax dollars to Israel so that Israel can spend money to influence us. I don't know, it just feels wrong. It feels wrong. Anyway, you should know that Dillon Law Group filed on behalf of this company. So they are on the FAR paperwork, they're representing them. So Show Faith by Works LLC was initially contracted by Havas Media on September 8th, and then came Charlie's public funeral, described by some people, his wife, as the event of the century. And what do you know that after this, Andrew Colvett announced on the news that at this event of the century, they successfully had geofenced and geotagged everyone who went there to mourn Charlie. So really, it was like hats, merch, and some cell phone data, apparently. Take a listen.
The way I'm going to break a little bit of news on your program, Jesse, our partners that do sort of geotagging with devices, they told us that they tracked over 277,000 devices in the vicinity of State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Wow. 277,000.
I just can't believe he thought that was good PR to go up there and just say that. I mean, can I also just say that if I die, you can just miss me with this kind of a funeral. I'm good. No, thank you. I'm good. I'm really good at the birch, the hats, and the geofencing funeral. Thank you very much. Now, I should be clear that we don't know for sure if Andrew Colvett, who happened to actually be sitting with Harmeet Dillon at the recent White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting, we don't know if Andrew Colvett, he didn't name who he was working with. He didn't name who his partners were. So we don't know if it was Show Faith by Works. But the timing of this is definitely interesting. And we should actually maybe try to find out, right? In their FARA docs, they specifically note that they are going to be doing that geofencing and targeting in Tucson, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. So that is right in the Turning Point hub. There's a lot of smoke here. I'd be willing to bet there's some fire. And maybe if you were one of the lucky ones who got to attend this event of the century, you might be able to work to find out by contacting Turning Point and saying, actually, who was your partners that were geofencing us? Maybe it's on a ticket stub. I would imagine they would have had to disclose it. I'm not sure entirely. But it would be know who their partners are. I didn't know Turning Point was doing this. I actually thought they were like a 501c3 charity that was not engaged in this at all. So I do want to give a special shout out to Twitter user Gen X Girl, because she has done a fantastic job influencing that. You can see that she says she's a honey badger that exposes corruption, wars, and foreign influence. And I do think that kind of looking at the piece of what this firm is going to be important. Again, I personally have nothing against Harmeet Dillon. I do think that there are some interesting ties that bind when it comes to her particular firm. And since she is in contest to become the next Attorney General following Pam Bondi, yeah, we should understand what's actually going on here. And that's not even half of it, by the way, in terms of their involvement with some very pro-Israel initiatives. Anyway, we will be right back after a brief break. All right, you guys, way before the food industry failed us and started making low-quality ones.
If you ever wanted to start your own clothing brand, but you didn't want to buy inventory.
Okay, I just have to read this comment that came in live from Curious Joel. He writes, the mobile October 7th experience also includes the 6-hour stand-down order, so it might take a while to begin. Just be patient. It's going to be a blast. It's like absolutely hilarious. I'm good on the October 7th experience. Can I just say that? Like I said, I would be very surprised if this was not the company that was working with one of the partners of Turning Point USA. Again, because of all the ties they have to one another, because of the location that is explicitly listed, but also in the filing, they named the churches that they're going to be geofencing at. And it just happens to be a lot of these Calvary Chapel churches where these pastors of Turning Point USA are heavily involved in, including the Dream City Church, where Charlie spoke at once a month, whatever the situation was, that they just hosted Erica at in Phoenix, the Dream City City Church where they hosted Trump at in Phoenix. That's the one I'm referring to. It's on the list, so I feel like where there's smoke, there is likely fire, but I have not personally confirmed that. We will do our best to do that. And of course, if you have any information, as we always say, email us tips at CandaceOwens.com, more tips at CandaceOwens.com, and we will keep prodding that narrative because there's more. There's some weird, there just seems to be a lot of connections here to Israel and this sense, this anger that they're losing their stranglehold on America, certainly have lost their stranglehold on America, lost the youth. They're now losing above the youth. They're lost millennials. And it seems as though they want to lose every generation with the way that they're acting and the way that they're behaving. And at the end of the day, they don't have truth on their side. And I should have mentioned that in terms of why the Daily Wire went down. Like when they were peaking, they were on the side of truth. They were talking about how horrific the things that were happening to kids that were being diagnosed as transgender and being given these irreversible treatments. You're on the side of truth. And now everything has flipped, and they're on the side of evil, right? They are on the side of evil. You can't sit here and look at what's happening in Gaza and say Theo Von is bad for recognizing that and having a heart and saying, I don't like this. This feels satanic and this feels wrong. So you're fighting a losing battle in that way. And again, this approach to constantly trying to bankrupt people and to try to humiliate people, like, I just don't care. My family is so much more fortified than that. We're just very close, and we're also very happy, you know, and I think that has been driving them the craziest, is that they sense that there is this underlying joy, and there is an underlying joy when you're doing what you believe in, when you're saying things that are true. Do I get it right all the time? No. Am I perfect? Of course not. We make mistakes. We do our best to correct those mistakes, and so the nature of wanting to steal from somebody it's against the free markets. It's against morality, and you guys are going to lose. You are going to lose. I sense that, and I mean that deeply. Because we know that in the end, truth wins. It's as simple as that. A top comment from last episode came from Character Life. Character Life writes, every time someone tries to sue Candace, all they end up doing is giving the public a magnifying glass to look into their past. I think we are all being handed a magnifying glass right now into how it all works. Like, we're really understanding how the corruption works, how the entire machine works, and it's great. It really is. And so I know that we sometimes feel so down about it, and it's like, oh my gosh, why do they keep getting away with these things? How are they allowed to enrich themselves? The more that they fight, the more that they expose themselves. So be happy, be a happy warrior. As I told you, Charlie used to always say. I certainly am one. Rigo Burt writes, I'm going to petition my congressman to propose legislation to condemn anti-Candace Semitism. Thank you. Candace Semitism is the worst. Anti-Candace Semitism makes me sick. And yeah, that was wild. Like, even that, but that was all on my birthday. It was so weird. And it was very Daily Wire coded, because last time when they like sent lawsuits, it was like on Jeremy Boring's birthday. And by the way, he cannot be removed from the disaster that is like the reason they got into debt. He was just like maniacal. He stopped focusing on the talent and just started focusing on himself and thinking that he was the product. And very little investment actually went into the talent. It was we couldn't get answers. It was like Jeremy's film, Jeremy wants to this, Jeremy wants to that. But actually, kind of what built the company were the projects of like Matt Walsh, What is a Woman? When we did the George Floyd doc, like, people were interested in that sort of a thing. And you cannot have, as I said earlier, talent in the boardroom. People who think that they can be objective and make decisions when really they want to be in front of the camera. It's good to just like rip that apart, have those be in two separate compartments, rather. Okay, comments from today's episode. What do we have? Jen Commons writes, I hope this will help you. Wow, that is a very big donation. I hope this will help you pay for attorneys to pursue discovery in the Brian Harpole case. It's the only chance we might have to get to the truth. Charlie would be so proud of you. Go, Max. I am so hopeful that this goes to discovery. All I want is truth. It matters more to me than this lawsuit. This is the perfect one. Like I was saying, like, this is actually, like, I could not have been more above board. I genuinely did not believe that Brian Harpole or Dan Flood were involved when this went down. I defended them on this platform, saw his interview. I never mentioned him on the show until that interview. And I reached out to him before. Like, I just didn't feel like animosity toward him at all, because, like I said, I had worked with him. And generally speaking, I can't think of many people that work in security that you don't get along with. They're there to like keep you safe. So it was always it was a very honest endeavor. And so I think they overplayed their hand with this, unless they are going to be corrupt and they think that they, I don't know, maybe know a judge somewhere and can get this done. Maybe he is banking on his connections to Harmeet Dillon. Who knows what this is going to be, but at least the public will be paying attention to it. And I am praying that this will actually allow us to go right in and to get the information, the answers to the questions, have access to his phone, have access to Dan Flood's phone, have access even to Erica's phone on that day, to have access to the footage. You're saying you did all of these things, and, well, great thing, there's footage in 4K that Turning Point USA is in possession of. So this feels good. So thank you for that. And also, by the way, guys, I tweeted that it would be really funny if this was the biggest day of merch in our merch history, and it actually, we are on track for this to be the biggest day in our merch sale history on the website. I love you guys for actually buying merch just to spite the people that were calling for a merch boycott. So you could go to CandaceOwens.com. We've got merch up available on the website, and we have great merch. You know, we do. Come on. Everyone likes the Make America Christian Again hat. David has done a really great job taking our merch up to the next level. Yes, you caught me red-handed. I've been exposed. We do sell merch so that our show can be self-sustaining and that we can pay our employees. We are a small team, and yeah, merch helps a lot with that. And it certainly helps with these never-ending lawsuits that keep coming and these never-ending legal bills, because people can't beat me in the free markets, and so they want to steal. That's the reality of it. Okay, back to more comments. Michaela writes, for a Russian blue cat, donation for a Russian blue cat for Candace in honor of Theo, using his God-given platform for truth and purpose. Spiritually, we instinctively recognize God's light in Theo, just as we recognize the darkness spewing forth from those who should be advocating for truth, fake and gay. So well said. You do recognize God's light in Theo. Like when he speaks and he is just so humble and he admits to his past mistakes and he talks about his like drug addiction, and like he is like, to be around Theo Von, I am telling you, there is a light that emanates from him. He's a very, very happy person, and I couldn't say enough about him. My kids positively adore him. Yeah, I just like want to be around him. You just want to be around him. He emanates truly. Thank you so much, Michaela, for that donation. Legally Blonde writes, Candace, your loyalty to Charlie, the truth, and to Christ is something to be admired. I enjoy your content, but more importantly, I support your mission. I am a freelance paralegal, research and timelines, and would be happy to help. Go Max and stay true. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love doing the timelines and doing the research, and if we ever do need extra help, we will reach out to you. We always actually kind of need extra help, but we're doing good. I think we're doing good right now. Fagliano writes, Candace, we love you, and heads up, Blake Lively just settled. A win for adversaries of purchased corruption. Your integrity inspires so many. Yes, I forgot to honorably mention that. I will obviously cover that tomorrow. I was very passionate about that because that was a similar lawsuit where the little dog in that was Justin Baldoni. And it was evil. And it was somebody using their power and their connections to try to destroy someone, not based on principle, but because you can, because you have access, because you have resources, because you are WME, because Taylor Swift is your best friend, because your husband is a part of the Marvel universe. So I am very happy for Justin Baldoni. Congratulations. I know that settlement means like the case is over, and yes, they're going to keep settlement details quiet, but it's a win for Justin Baldoni. There was no way once they had just there was nothing left. There was nothing left. And she was pompous and she was arrogant and she was connected. But we're living in a different time. Truth wins. And trying to humiliate him, saying he sexually assaulted her or sexually harassed her, whatever it was, doing that as a PR move to destroy his family, destroying his family with those sorts of innuendos. Like, this man was so gentle. He was so nice, I wanted to puke. Justin Baldoni made me sick. He was so nice. And the way that he dealt with her in every message, I was like angry at Justin Baldoni when I read those messages. So also kudos to that legal team. I'm blanking on Brian's last name because I've just been saying Harpole. What was the lawyer who savaged? I loved that. I loved that he just dropped the receipts. Brian Friedman, congratulations to you. Also to Melissa Nathan and the people that were the PR team that were a part of that as well, who they tried to destroy for just representing their client. We needed that win. It was a couple of years long, and you guys no doubt made it out on top. And even if you had actually lost because of some corrupt judge, which I didn't think was going to happen, because the whole world was paying attention. And that is the importance of the whole world paying attention when corruption is happening. It's why I'm saying all eyes on the Charlie Kirk situation.
Right.
Because when this many of us are looking, things change. All eyes on whatever the hell is going on at the Dillon Law Group. Like I said, we are receiving some information, and I think it's going to get very interesting. So thank you to all of you guys. I see you on X who are digging and reporting. It means the world to us. And again, congratulations to Justin Baldoni. And I will never look at your Instagram feed. You're my cousin. We get our kombucha now. Where is my kombucha with Justin Baldoni? He's, I've heard, moving to Nashville, by the way. I'm about to hit up Laura Loomer to dox him. I'm gonna hit her up, dox him, because I need my kombucha with my cousin, Justin. We did this. Love you and the family forever. I mean, I miss the family. I never met you, but I miss the family. Anyway, that's a lawsuit I am gonna miss. I was hoping to testify in that one. Another comment, sorry, I went a little riff there. Arcole writes, I'm complicit, Ben C, and he gave us $100. He's gonna come for you. He's gonna come for your whole life. Thank you so much, Dankster Intel. Also, another $100 donation. Thank you. We got your back on this side of the internet, Candace. Big love from the foreign agent exposer. More chinks in the armor than they ever thought some boring research would ever produce. Foreign agents are everywhere. We're taking back America from these grifting hands in our pockets. I totally agree. It does feel that way, like we are actually fighting for the soul of our country, and it does feel, dare I say, like we are winning. And there is something about the collapse of Ben Shapiro's platform that makes us all feel like we won. We won because he's a tremendously powerful person, because of his familial connections. What was his uncle, Zalman Shapiro? Am I correct that he's the one that took all of the uranium to Israel? Zalman, like Zalman. Is that correct? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Oh, I guess you could say theft is in his family's nature. I don't think he ever actually was found guilty, because I think he pled like anti-Semitism or something like that. So on track. But like I said, the awakening happens first, and I think we're going to win. I really do. And we're definitely going to find out who was really behind the Charlie Kirk murder.
We built a lighter that burns at 1,800 degrees, and retailers just told us it was too dangerous to sell.
Because we all know it wasn't Tyler Robinson alone on a rooftop. Okay? That is not how the Clue game went down. Natty Nicole writes, Ben and Larry are disgusting human beings, doubling my donation to spite them. Thank you so much. It's a huge donation to support you and to support the truth. He wants to dance. Let's effing go, little man. I love that. Kiwi writes, the look on Ben's face when God shows him the literal meaning of Isaiah 54:15. Whoever attacks you shall fall before you. God is fighting your battles, Candace. Christ is king. I truly believe that. We let go. I can't say I'm like my husband, who prays for him more than I do, but I did tell you that I did humble myself, and because my priest told me to, and I did pray for Ben a lot more than I should have. I have since stopped praying for him, because it is hard for me to do so when he is just so patently evil. But I know that if I talk to my priest, he's going to make me do it. So I'm just not going to talk to him for a couple of weeks or whatever. I'll leave him on red or something. He doesn't watch the show. Nobody reach out to my priest, okay? Cone Film writes, Christ is King. E-Machine writes, Candace, will you tell us about your new relic? I noticed it when you returned from Rome. Congratulations on your confirmation. It is Saint Joan. Yes,
yeah,
2 relics. Too. My husband got it as a confirmation gift. Obviously, he was my sponsor. I had the most amazing confirmation ever. I could like cry thinking about how amazing it was. It was just so perfect, and it was even made more perfect by the fact that Trump, on the same evening of it, or the night before, I guess, as we were in Italy, that he posted that picture of me. Like, there was something about it, and all of the attacks happening, right? It couldn't have been more perfect. The cardinal who rendered me into silence, just the presence of, like, someone who spends his life so contemplative, just praying to God, humbling himself before the Lord his entire life, and really understanding what true power is, right? It's not money, it's not connections, it's humbling yourself before the Lord. And I see just as the former user said, so much of what has happened to the Daily Wire, it was also a lack of humility. To say, you know what, we did that, it was stupid, it was wrong. We shouldn't have done it that way, shouldn't have done it publicly. I wish we'd go back and do things that are different. I wish we had made friends and left things on good terms, with Brett, with Candace, we could have had them back. It is just, nope, we're powerful, we don't have to, we have connections, we can smear you, and we don't care. So there's a lesson to be learned there, and they probably won't learn it. Sasiba writes, you may make money with my views, and I pray that it is multiplied. Thank you guys, truly. I think when I go upstairs, I think it's going to be our biggest day in merch sales ever, so that's amazing. They call me. Nama writes, Candace, my daughter, Jacqueline, is in her early 20s, raising 2 young sons, one with autism. She is a devout fan of yours. Thank you for showing our young women that loving God, your children, and your husband is beautiful. It is the most important thing. I cannot tell you guys enough how much my life cleaned up. I thank my husband for deepening my relationship with God and just being an amazing husband and standing by me through everything, and for believing that we could do this. None of this would happen. Everybody who really knows me and my husband knows that I don't know anything. I just talk on my microphone and he makes it all work. So it is, I really do believe that with God and with family. It's just, life is the best. We're just very happy right now. We're in a very happy phase. So there's that. I don't think I missed anybody's comments. I hope I didn't, Natty. I got Cone, I got Ema Shone. Vattermore, I missed you. Can we start a GoFundMe to save the little horse? I am going to rescue that little horse, actually. You are correct. I should be doing it. That would be a very fun gag GoFundMe that would then raise a ton of money, which is very funny. But GoFundMe would then shut it down or something because they'd say you can't make up stuff. So there's that. Anyway, you guys, if you'd like to support us, merch is on the website. You know how to do it. We love being independent. Thank you guys so much. And reminding you, book club. Not this week, but next week. This is a perfect time to join it. We are doing...
Okay, y'all. Good night. I got to go to sleep. I'm asleep. Good night.